Feels good to be back. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and today I wanted to talk about my 3 favorite books of the year and my 3 least favorite books. I only ended up reading like 25, 26 books, somewhere around there this year. It was kind of a slumpy year for me. I don't know why. And most of the books I read were actually pretty average. There was just a few that really stuck out to me as really great and really terrible. So I'm gonna talk about those today all together in one happy little video. I'm turning into Bob Ross now. I just need an afro. Let's get started. So we're gonna end on a high note and I'm gonna talk about my favorites last. So let's talk about the ones I didn't like. So the first one I want to talk about is actually Uzumaki by Junji Ito. Contrary to this list, I really do like Junji Ito. It's just these couple of ones that I read of his I just didn't enjoy, and I read quite a bit of Junji Ito this year. This is a story about a small town in Japan that is consumed by spirals. It's just everywhere, and then these spirals are kind of like its own entity. Our main character is having to kind of navigate through life with these spirals everywhere, and she sees some horrifying things and is very blasé about it. Work in these books are just phenomenal. I can't say enough about his art style, and his storytelling is very interesting when it makes sense. Like, Tomie is an excellent example of how great of a storyteller he is. I think this one for me, I just didn't like the main character very much, and I think it would have been better if there wasn't like some big overarching thing at the end that came out of nowhere. Our main character is very blasé about everything. She just doesn't seem to care. She sees some awful things and just like, I'm like, leave, call someone, do something. And she never does. And then the ending was very vague. Nothing was very explained. And to me, I hate vague endings, and it was just really, really irritating. So I ended up giving Uzumaki like 2 stars purely for the artwork. And another one I have of Junji Ito's on this list is Censor, which is one of his newer works, and it has to do with aliens and golden hair that's like its own entity. This guy's got a thing for hair, I'm not sure why. So we follow our main character as she stumbles into this village right before it is like attacked or something by some evil meteor entity thing. Something happens and she becomes some strange supernatural being with magical hair. It's very Rapunzel, but really dark. No, it's not. What am I saying? Again, the art style's fantastic. Story too vague. There was really no clear plot. I didn't like any of the characters, and I thought that it needed to be longer to better understand what the heck was going on, because I was completely lost the entire time. I finished this book and I had to sit there for a minute and go, what did I just read? Because I could not tell you what this book is about. I ended up also giving this 2 stars just because of the artwork. Again, stunning. I just realized I've been holding this upside down the whole freaking time. Classic. But again, like, artwork, phenomenal. Story, meh. Okay, so the final one that I really didn't like is an actual novel, sort of, and that is White Rose by Kip Wilson. This is based on a true story about the White Rose resistance group during the Nazi Germany era and trying to get the people of Germany to open their eyes to the atrocities that are going on around them. And it was okay. It wasn't what I was expecting. This is told in verse, which, first off, don't think it should have been. I think this should have been told like a regular story so we could understand more of the characters, get to know them better, but also like have a better idea of timeline, because the timeline of this just jumped everywhere. Like, it was all over the place. I never knew if we were in the past, present, or future. It was so confusing. So again, I think this would have done better not in verse, because the verse really didn't add anything to it. In all honesty, I feel like it took away from what could have been a really good story. My cat found a toy and he's very cute. He can't get it because it's under something. There you go, buddy. Nailed it. Also, I know this is a true story, so it's really hard to critique this, but there were moments where I was like, were they really this dense? Did they really not think this through? Like, it was really hard to be invested in the characters because of the writing. I feel like if I had been more invested, I would have felt more for them when they did make the dumb decision that they did, and I wouldn't have felt as angry. Again, like, this is so hard to critique because it is a true story, but at the same time, like, I got so frustrated because things could have been prevented. Like, they were doing such a good thing, and then they ruined it with one bad choice that easily could have been avoided. Like, okay, yeah, all right, good job. I think this would be an interesting subject to do more research about and to understand better than this version. Like, if you want to learn about it, don't go this book route because it was not good. It was not well done. And again, 2 stars. There were some good quotes. There was some good discussion with my book club because we did read this in book club, but we all hated it, so there's that. We flew through those dislikes. Let's get to the good ones. So these are in no particular order of favorites. These are just ones that have really stuck with me throughout the year. One of them I've read recently, so I guess throughout the rest of the year. These have definitely stuck with me and ones I keep thinking about. And the first one being Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. I really enjoyed this more than I thought. I keep thinking about this book. I keep thinking of the experience. I keep thinking of this family, and I keep thinking of how much I really did enjoy listening to this. And it's a book that keeps coming back to mind, so I definitely think this is one of my favorites of the year. This is the story about Sunja and her family. I believe her name is Sunja. Yes, I got it. She is originally from Korea and marries into a Japanese family and moves to Japan. And it kind of follows her and her family and all the things they go through throughout the years being immigrants in Japan. This is set in the early 1900s, so there was a lot going on during this time, and we get to see the highs and the lows and just how sweet the family can be, but also how heartbreaking it can all be. There were definitely some moments where I was sobbing and I was in shock, and just from the perspective of Sunja when she becomes a mother, and just being a mom myself, I really related to some of the things she went through and just some of the heartache and how she wants to protect her children and do what she can for them to give them the best life, and I totally related to that. And I think, again, this is why this book has stuck with me. I really, really enjoyed it, and I definitely think this is one a lot of people should read because it is really well written. It's a really good story. If you like a family story, this is it. This is like the first time I've ever read like a following a family kind of story, like a historical fiction family thing. I don't know what this genre is called, but I liked it. I think I ended up giving this like 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really, really loved this, and I definitely think I could do a reread of this at some point, sometime, because it was really good. The audiobook is also fantastic. The narrator is amazing. Okay, this next one is a whole trilogy because I couldn't pick just one, so I was like, well, I'm just gonna say all 3 of them, and that is the Crown of Feathers trilogy. I read the whole trilogy this year, and my goodness, this is one of my all-time favorites now. I have talked in great length about this trilogy, and I will not stop talking about this trilogy. This is the story about 2 sisters who desperately want to become Phoenix Riders, and they both go about it in very different ways. One decides to go and find the legendary Phoenix Riders and become an apprentice and learn through them, while the other decides to take measures into her own hands, which doesn't quite go as she wants. This is really a hard one to describe without spoiling everything, but I think that's the best description I can give. There's magic, there is betrayal, there's a sisterly bond, and it's just a really fantastically done book. I typically don't like books with talking animals. It's just something that I just can't do, and I don't know why, but this was so well done. Not every animal could talk, just the phoenixes, which was great. And that made sense to me because they're magical creatures. Of course they can talk. But I feel like the magic was so simple, but also had some complexities to it that made it really interesting. And there was different layers to the magic. Everyone could have a different skill set, even though the magic was all kind of the same. And it was just, oh, it's just so good. I love this series so much. I am so excited to see what else this author writes. I can't recommend this enough. I have given this 5 stars to pretty much all 3 of them. I think the last one I gave like 4.5. I will say the last 2 aren't as exciting as this one. I find they are a bit slower, but wow, what an ending. Wow. Sorry my camera angle changed a tad. I just smacked my tripod because that's what I do. And the final one on this favorites list is one that I've read pretty recently, and that is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. Oh gosh. I adore this book. This book was incredible. It met all my expectations, and it was just so good. This is the story about Nari, who lives in Cairo and accidentally summons a Deva or Jinn. Then he whisks her away to the magical land of Davabad because it turns out that she has some sort of magical heritage in her blood. Nari is then thrust into the political schemes and the world of Davabad, meets this awesome guy named Ali who is a prince, and they become friends, and it's a ride. It is a wild ride. It is so good. The magic in this is really fantastic. And I really love Nari as a main character. I think she's got a pretty level head, but at the same time, like, she's kind of like accepted what's happened to her, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna make the best of it for me. And I just love how strong she is and how fantastic she is. Ali is a great character too. He's just so kind and smart and compassionate to people, and the things that happen at the end will just have you sobbing, because I teared up because I was scared. I'm not a huge fan of Dara, to be fair. He's the Jinn, and honestly, like, I'm still iffy on him. I'm on book 2 and I'm not entirely sure if I like him or not. I didn't like him from page 1. I know a lot of people do, but maybe I'm just in the minority. I don't know. I obviously gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Incredible. So good. So those were my favorites and least favorite books of 2021. I didn't read as much, but I read a lot of good books. Like, it was really hard to pick favorites. But those are the 3 I chose because they've just stuck with me. There have been some really good ones this year, but again, I just have a special place in my soul for those. Let me know down below what your favorite and least favorite book of the year was, because I would really love to know. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And, you know, give this video a thumbs up if you want. Totally up to you. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye-bye.